Hi, my name is Sherry Anderson, and I am the chief cook and bottle washer of an organization called Dream Lab. What Dream Lab does is it helps people who are trying to change the world, folks like entrepreneurs and artists and social justice activists and professionals, get the skills, motivation, and support that they need to actually go out there and change the world. In particular, we offer group coaching sessions and webinars and workshops, as well as individual coaching sessions. Today, we're going to try something a little different. We're going to try a follow along group coaching session. I've invited some really fabulous people who are, in fact, doing work that will change the world when it comes to fruition. They're going to talk about the things that challenge them. I'm going to give them an exercise, short exercise to tackle that. And then we're going to have a group discussion about what we feel as a group are the things we can do to move forward, not only for ourselves, but for you, our viewers. So as in terms of how to do this, just watch the video, do the exercise, and then watch the rest of the discussion. And when you're done, just go into the comment section and give your feedback the same way that our participants did. And I'll respond as if I were coaching you. I'll write responses as if I were coaching you. Sound good? Today, we're going to be talking about the big challenges that get in our way when we're working on our passion projects. I brought 4 fabulous creators, fierce creators here together to talk about what are the things that challenge them as they're working on their projects. We're going to do a little exercise to help all of us think a little bit differently about our challenge. And then we're going to just have a brief discussion afterwards to talk about what big ahas we have. So folks, I'd like you to share your name, give a little juicy synopsis of your passion project, and then talk a little bit about the biggest thing that's getting in your way. Brent, you go first.
Hi, my name's Brent Winzek. I am a creator and writer. And I like to say entertainer because I write, direct, I act. And my big project is something called Space Cadets, which is something that was born in my basement with a group of friends when I was 17 years old. And I've carried that project with me through all my professional pursuits. It's taken many forms, and my current iteration is I've been working on novel forms for quite some time. I would say that the biggest blockades I have are imposter syndrome and procrastination.
What's your favorite character in Space Cadets?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I personally really enjoy he's not my villain, he's my anti-hero. I have what I call the holy trinity of story archetypes, which is I have my traditional hero, I have my anti-hero, and then I also have my supervillain. So
Ooh.
I set up the anti-hero as though he is actually the villain. And as the story progresses, you realize that no, in fact, he is actually, he's actually going to end up on the right side of history, so to speak. And his name is Captain Elaborap Smith. And I love and adore writing for him because he's hyper intelligent. And he's just so much fun to write his lines and to get into that headspace. Since I have a background in performance, I have techniques that allow me I'll tap into one character and focus on them. And so I get to play each part, which is why I love writing the series. And his sidekick and first mate, Gligorg, who is a Phalamon, which is a 3-foot-tall bipedal turtle-like creature, is also, the two of them are they're my absolute favorites to work with.
That sounds awesome. Why would you have imposter syndrome when you have a story that cool? So Brent, tell me, what does imposter syndrome mean to you?
Imposter syndrome means to me, and I don't mind sharing that I struggle with depression, which I've been in therapy for some time now. And I get in my own way, essentially. Imposter syndrome is always second guessing myself, always doubting the outcome of the project because it hasn't gone anywhere yet and I have all these iterations. The first 2 stories are already in radio drama form that we have a podcast for. And we have this beautiful website. We have illustrations and maps and all these things, but again, there's that element of traction, right? And trying to gain traction on the internet is, I like to say, it's like, you know, shouting at a storm. Like it almost feels like nobody hears you sometimes, right? And that's, I think everybody understands that and feels that from time to time. I can have a tendency to what a few of my friends who are close to me and who help me with those struggles, we call it tail spinning. It's like you pull up, you're tail spinning, you're in a tailspin, where it's just like you fixate on one or two things that are negative that have happened, and then that makes you second guess everything that you've been doing or everything that I've been doing for the last 15 years with the project.
I've been there. I've been there. Anyone else been there? Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, it's obviously a crock of caca because we're all so brilliant. So it's clearly just our demons getting to her. So, Brent, thank you for sharing. And I appreciate you sharing from the heart. We'll do this exercise in a bit, and hopefully that'll give you a new perspective on this darn imposter. Colleen, would you please introduce yourself?
I'm Colleen, and I have a couple of projects, all under the same kind of theme of curiosity and perspective enhancing. So I have a travel memoir that has that I've been working on for about 5 years, about a project where I went around the world and asked people the same 3 questions. I asked them, what does a good life mean to you? In your opinion, what's the biggest threat to humanity today? And what do you think the world will be like 50 years from now? That is called Big Shared World. And I think when it comes to something being finished, that gets in the way of it. But yet it's like funny because, you know, here's where I want to be, here's where I see it, and it could be this certain way. And then like I get so focused on that happening that like I will stop the little things to make it happen, you know, or my energy to do it myself, it wanes. And I think it's just because I know all the steps that it really should take to get there, you know, like all the emails that need to be sent, the conversations that need to be had, that like, even though I see so much value in what I've created and the future of what I have to create with, it's just that day-to-day showing up with it and carving the time and really loving organizing and cleaning and doing that a million times more than getting the button, the chair, and writing the thing or emailing the person. So I definitely stand in my own way for sure and could probably think of 10 different things to focus on. But probably I'll just say perfectionism for the state of today.
What kind of thoughts do you have in your mind when you talk about perfectionism? Is there like a running dialogue you have?
I think there's a very big fear of people calling something out for not being perfect. You know, I think we live in a world that people are super quick to point out one thing they don't like and not value the 99 things that they could have liked alongside it. Mm-hmm. And that can feel so loud. There's judgment and opinions out there that scare me and make me feel like I just want to go back into my own little cozy world and not be the person that produced this thing, you know. So there's just a fear, I think, that perfectionism has, but then also like a tangible, this is the step I think that should be taken for this. And even like from a writing perspective and an editing perspective, and I print things out, I review them, I write by hand in the margins as my kind of like favorite way of editing. I can rewrite the same thing 100 times. You know, I just can go back and go back and back and just not edit it all that much, but a ton in my mind, or, you know, it's just, that's where this plays itself out too.
Well, so thank you for sharing. I get it. I get the perfectionist thing. I got it. And I really, you know, when I wrote plays, it was really vulnerable when I would, have this thing in me and then I would show it in front of an audience. You feel really naked, you know, like, how are they going to react? Are they going to laugh when you think you're going to laugh? Or It's a really, it's a thing. It's a thing. Thank you, Colleen. My friend and yours, Ms. Melissa. Tell them about how brilliant you are.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm Melissa, and I'm a singer-songwriter, and I have a passion for creating music that incorporates new thought and empowerment, lyrics and themes. I write and record and play piano and guitar. It's something I've been doing off and on since 2005. I had an album out in 2009 that had 11 songs on it, and a lot of them were co-written with somebody else, but this time I'm really taking it on all by myself. And I think that's because I want to tell the stories that I've lived. And so for the most part, that's going to be from my perspective kind of project. So that's exciting, but I think the challenges definitely are the perfectionism, stepping front and forward, and procrastination. I have the anxiety that I've dealt with my whole life has got me in sort of a tailspin, because there's the creative side and producing the music, but then there's the business hat and all the moving parts that go into releasing an album, which is what the project is, releasing that in 2021. And so I think for me, it is trying to, have a plan and have checklists for the moving parts. But so keeping a part of my brain free for the creativity, and then balancing that with the business side of it. And so, yeah, it's a lot.
It's, you want to go into it being, for the love of it, for the beauty, for the, the inspiration. And then you end up like having to make marketing plans and learn how to use, tweeting and
Yeah, because I think during these, there's never been a better opportunity for a musician to be all of the parts of their business. But then the downside of that is you have to be all the parts and play all the roles. And so I think organization and just procrastination are the two biggest, and perfectionism.
Thanks, Melissa. I get it. I've been there. I am there. Chief cook and bottle washer. My friend and yours, the lovely and talented Gigi Bisson.
Hello, I'm Gigi Bisong. My full name is actually Najija, but I do go by Gigi. And currently right now I'm working on an online project. I typically do a lot of speaking and storytelling, but after COVID, I stepped into creating more of like an online platform, online space. So I have been doing and hosting and creating the Embodied Ally program. So originally it was like a live community class online. We had our own community. We'd meet every Sunday for Zoom calls, different speakers and facilitators. And right now what my project is turning into is I'm actually creating it to be a product that's like an evergreen product. So meaning like instead of doing the community work, I felt like that took a lot of energy and time, and I wasn't really charging like a real high end for that. So this is going to be taking all the videos that I already, did for the first two Embodied Ally programs and putting it in like an evergreen product. So it'll be like on a website, people will pay like a certain price point and they'll get like the journal, all the different interviews, all the different modules and everything. And so it could just be like there collecting new members and money as I sleep, hopefully. So
nice. You should. And Gigi, can you just give me a little color on what you mean by embodied ally? I think I know, but do you mind just giving me?
Totally.
For people like me, right?
Yeah. And everyone kind of talked about perfectionism, and the thing that was like in my head, because that I think we all can, deal with that as entrepreneurs for sure. But the interesting thing is in my Embodied Ally program, what we're learning about is a new way of allyship. So it's for white women, the ones that I'm working with is specifically for white women who consider themselves allies. So who want to fight against racism and to show up in the world and to do good in the world to make sure racism isn't a thing in their own bodies and in their communities. And the way that we're doing that is we're doing ancestral healing around racism. So healing a lot of, the pains in our lineage, also doing like shadow work when it comes to racism, and then also healing the roots of the energies that racism exists in. So there's an energy, you know, that racism is like grown out of, which is a lot of perfectionism, and which is a lot of judgment and guilt, you know, so there's a lot more. But since perfectionism is one of those, we talk a lot about looking at the perfectionism in us. And so when we're showing up doing work to, you know, remove racism, that we're not showing up to do that work holding the same energies that racism exists in. And so perfectionism is one of those, which really helps me out. So people kind of really are like, okay, there's that perfectionism again as I'm judging Gigi. So it kind of works in my favor as we're talking about that.
How does the perfectionism show up in your own personal production of this?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it shows up. How does it show up? Well, I know for the first session that I did, you know, the Embodied Ally, there was a lot of technical issues that I was having. Like it was out of my, it wasn't me, but it was my computer and my internet that was giving me trouble. And so therefore the members had to wait, and they kind of had to be patient with me being slow on like uploading things and things like that. And so that really kind of hurt right off the bat of like stepping into this and being like, oh my gosh, like I'm not fulfilling that promise as timely as I said that I would. And I don't know what to do about it. So that was one way that it showed up for me.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks to all four of you, the Fab Four. I think everyone can relate to your stories. I think we've been there. And not only have we been there, we've also gotten out of there. So the next thing I want to do is give you an exercise. My friend and yours, Albert Einstein, said that the solution to the problem cannot be found with the same thinking that created it. Meaning that if you have a problem and are super critical about it, and then work harder to find the solution and keep on being critical about it, you're just going to go in this rabbit trail. It's not a rabbit trail, it's a gerbil. Anyway, you go round and round and round, and you're not able to do exciting thinking about it. So what we're going to do is an exercise to kind of shake up how we think about our challenges. So imagine that you have your problem is a being, is someone else, is a person, and that you're going to write a letter to that person telling them everything that you think they should know. And we're back. Hi, everyone. I'd love to thank you for the exercise. I'd love to hear from you about what came up for you. What are the big new thoughts or ahas or emotions that came up for you as you wrote to your problem? Let's go ahead and start with Gigi.
My problem is actually my work. And so I work full time. And so I have a big timing issue. And so I wrote to my timing as if it was another girl. And so she basically wanted to like sit down and talk to me. So she's like, how about we just have tea together? And we talk this out, you know? She's like, you know how you do your coaching and, you know, your group work with women, like, can we just talk it out that way and come to an agreement? And so, yeah, so I told her yes. So we're gonna create some time for tea and chat.
How did it feel to come up with that? Or what kind of emotions came up with you, came up for you when you thought about that?
Yeah, it felt really good. I pride myself on having like innovative ideas and being creative, like a creative problem solver, and not just solving problems the same way everybody else does. And so this brought some excitement to like an energy that has been feeling really stale and dull.
Does the other person have a name?
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
Yeah, I have to ask her when you have tea. Are you gonna? I mean, when you think about having the tea, are you literally gonna set up places for each of you, or is this metaphorically just gonna happen in your head?
Yeah, probably in my head. I mean, I've done kind of something like this before. I went out to dinner with myself and this other being of me, and we had wine, and and yummy food. I didn't talk to her out loud because I was a little embarrassed. So I'll do the tea at home. So
Great. Thank you, Gigi. That's awesome. Ms. Melissa, what came up for you?
I think there was definitely a being there with perfectionist. There was this sort of shadow of Mr. or Mrs. Perfectionist. And I had just kind of said, I really appreciate over the years that your judgment and, your need to be here was there for a reason. But I really just want to tell you that it's not needed or welcome anymore. I know that you were there to protect me and to enable me to be a people pleaser for everybody, but our relationship needs a divorce. And I'm okay with you just, stepping out and closing the door. So it kind of was peaceful.
What kind of feelings did you have towards your problem?
There was a little bit of sadness, I think, just because it's a toxic relationship and I know it doesn't serve me. And so I just have to, it was a little bit of a little bit of sadness.
What do you think life will be like now that you've divorced it, get all the paper signed and, all the assets divided, et cetera, et cetera. What do you think life will be like when you...
Free.
Yeah.
Freedom, right? Peace. Less anxiety.
What do you think you're giving up to get that freedom? Like you said, you feel sad. What do you think you got from this?
It kind of feels like it was a protection mechanism, and so I kind of feel like I'm going it alone without having the perfectionist buddy there to protect me. So it's kind of like I'm stepping out on my own. So it's a little bit of fear, I think.
Okay. All right. I wish you well in your divorce. I wish I had a metaphorical lawyer for you, but I bet you can handle this. I believe in you. I believe you can handle in this. And I give you all sorts of mental support and energy and spirit fingers to make this transition.
Thank you.
Yay. So thank you, Melissa. Now let's hear from my friend and yours, Colleen Waterston.
Okay, so instead of calling it perfectionism, I called it potential in my note. So seeing it, and I think that that's where sometimes like the perfectionism stands in the way of achieving my potential, or the view of what I could do. And so it was like, dear potential, darn you for making me so nervous to fall short of what I could be, of the book I could produce, of the change I could make in people's lives in the world. You keep me from the computer, from the page, from the consistent routine, because I psych myself out trying to live up to you. I put so much pressure on myself to achieve you that I avoid you because I really worry of falling short. But what's the use of wasting all of you and never accomplishing anything? You are my biggest motivator and my biggest adversary. So I think it's like I was raised a funeral director's daughter, and I think the constant awareness of death in my life from a young age, just being a thing, working at a funeral home, it just was very talked about. Just feel like there's always been this understanding that life can be short, and that, you want to live an old and long life and full, but it's not promised, and I think I've always been a very seize the day type person in the way that I live, but sometimes in the deliverables of it, isn't the same. And so, but it's kind of like, if not me, then who? I've thought it when I've looked through my computer before and thought, and Gigi, it's funny because I talk out loud to myself all the time. I record conversations with myself. it's a practice I use. I talk as if I'm being interviewed from the future, getting through the moment I'm in.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
cool.
yeah, it's the way that it started when I was in conflict with somebody that I was working with. And I just thought this has to be helping me get better. And I don't want to forget what it's taking out of me right now. I don't want to forget this feeling right now. So I started to talk to myself while driving and just doing an audio note as if I was on a stage being introduced as a successful entrepreneur. How did you get through that moment?
Can you say a little bit more about it being your biggest motivator and your biggest obstacle?
I think sometimes even that like carpe diem way of life is like, well, let me just enjoy the moment, because this feels so far from being done. This feels so far from having the accomplished feeling. And also, people, what does a good life mean to you? My feeling was that people who had the shortest distance between what they want and what they have were usually the most like peaceful. And when I came home from all my travels, like I just really cared about the people that I was with. Like I wasn't thinking ambitious. Like I wasn't like, oh, now I've got to go make some big impact on the world. It was like, I just want to love on the people in my life and be loved by them and feel that, and that was, and so it was kind of like, oh, right. But I still had this big goal and this whole project moved forward because I had this big goal and people bought into it. But there's just like a balance between, or like this living small and appreciating, like I could spend a whole day with my niece and it's the best day ever, but I'll do that instead of sitting down with the whole day with my work. And so it's like living in the now and living in the dream, not dream like delusional, like
No,
not
I get it.
reality, but living for that dream where, one of my friends is like, Colleen, if you don't get your deadlines, if you don't get an agent and get yourself figuring out the market, you're going to be 50 and working at the Container Store talking about a book you're almost finished with, and I'm far from 50 right now. It's just this idea of like, allowing myself to finish a thing and making the time and seeing that potential as something that's reachable, even if I don't reach the pinnacle version of it. But like, if I don't move toward my potential because I'm afraid of it or whatever, I'm just stuck in it. But no one's going to write my book. No one's going to take what's in my head and turn it into something if I'm not even going to.
Nice. And I want you to.
Me too. Whenever someone's like, I want to read that book, I'm like, me too. Can't wait for your book to be done. Me too.
Joy is like gas to an engine that takes you to your destination. Thank you, Colleen. Brent Winzik, last but certainly not least.
So I started my note and then I envisioned this character that I named Imposter. And I'll hold it up to the camera. I should be able to read because I drew a picture of them.
Very nice.
That's a quick scribble because I know we were timed, but he's kind of your traditional Area 51 gray alien with the black eyes, and he's wearing the nose and mustache disguise that you see in cartoons all the time, as well as a fedora there, which is just the image that was conjured as I was writing this and addressing. I started at Dear Imposter, so that was his name right off the bat. And I think that the thing that I'm going to hold on to this, especially because he's very silly. And he's really the more I look at him, the more I realize how silly he is. And I think that's extraordinarily helpful.
Ooh, that's good. I love the idea of taking your problem and bringing it down into something that's relatable or something over which you not have, you do have power. You have a new perspective. You don't need to have it looming up as this huge, like it doesn't have total authority. It has less authority in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And the name is Imposter.
imposter, the alien who probably lives just outside of Area 51 in the desert somewhere, and goes into. I imagine him like driving to the nearest Circle K and then really quickly putting that fedora and those fake glasses and mustache on before he goes in to get his big slurp. And I'm just like, who are you? Like, why am I letting you affect me? Yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I really appreciate you taking this time. It's not easy to have these projects. If it were, as they say, people would have done them. But I know each of you, and I know that you each have the courage and the strength and the talent to make this happen. So I hope by keeping this challenge outside of you, Melissa, you'll get divorced. Colleen, you'll find the good side of the motivation of potential, and the book will get done. Then Gigi, I hope you have a wonderful tea with yourself. And then finally, Brent, I hope that you can look at The Imposter and giggle a little. Weren't they awesome? They were so awesome. They were so awesome. And thus endeth our inaugural follow along video group coaching session. Yay! Thank you very much for joining us. We had fun working with you. We hope you had fun working with us. If you want to share your ahas, if you want to continue this group coaching vibe, let me know. I'm going to put my email in the bottom of this in the comment section. Just give me an email. Tell me what your big ahas were, whatever questions you have, and I will respond. If you want more of these little gems, let me know. Again, just send me an email. There's a sign-in box at the bottom. We have Meme Mail, which is full of awesome blogs for creatives. And we also have a free coaching session and all sorts of different workshops going on. Check us out. So again, that link is in the bottom in the comment section right below me. And that's what I know. Stay tuned for future sessions. Keep on being awesome. Take care, everyone. Bye.